Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday morning. Happy birthday to all those beautiful babies born today from 0 to 196. And if you're 196 going on 197, I want you on the show because you're a miracle. That being said, now we're going to take care of the serious stuff. Okay, all the warnings and from the FBI and all that keeps our podcasts on the air. So let's get those out of the way. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, and exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, and video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called the Fair Use Act and is allowed for purposes of criticism, which I do, news reporting, yes, teaching, yes, and parody, of course, which doesn't infringe upon the copyright under Section 17 U.S.C. subsection 107 of the Fair Use Act. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strange, this podcast channel and all podcasts, and William Nighthawk believes good that it comes of any and all content, that's any and all content, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for teaching and parody, criticism, and news reporting, and general knowledge only, per Title 17 U.S.C. subsection 107. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel uses UCut app and Splice app for all of its advertising, music, and advertising needs. Because it's free. Free, I tell you. All right, let's get into the other one. Where is it? Okay. My disclaimer. Okay, now this is going to tell you just what I don't know. Anything that I show, discuss, or showcase on this channel is what I do or how I do or feel about things. You must remember to do your own research and decide for yourself if what you see or hear is on the platform that is right for you, as only you can decide for yourself. I am not a financial advisor. Thank God for that. I'm not a doctor. Oh, you don't know how lucky you all are. And I'm not an engineer. Yeah, you don't want any bridges crossed when I make them. Or a professional of any kind. Well, that goes without saying, you know. I mean, I'm kind of a professional. All I offer are ideas that you can draw from and a bit of entertainment. Yeah, more than a bit, huh? Thank God for that. Thank you and God bless. All right. Next. Oh, I didn't want to put that up there. What is that? Oh, good Lord. I wanted to put the cabal up there, not the reptilians, although they are a part of the cabal problem. Let's see here. Oh, what did I do? I hit the wrong button again. Uh-oh. There's all the companies that you all slave away your weekly wages and monthly wages for over and over again. You wake up every morning or night and you go to bed every morning or night just to work and slave away at your jobs, just to go to support Unilever, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Kellogg's, Mars, General Mills. I mean, look at all the companies they own. You know, I mean, for God's sakes, man, 11 companies own everything that you all buy. And they're all financed and stuff by BlackRock, who owns part of their companies. So, Wow, it's amazing to me. All right, let's get into some announcements here. Get that down. What am I doing talking about that in Black Rock? That's terrible of me. Okay, I just smacked myself for that. Okay, here we go. All right, first announcement: the 2023 East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization's Virginia Bigfoot Con. Look at the lineup, folks. Look at the lineup. I'm telling you, June 17th, 1 day only. 1 day only. So you got to get to it in Wyers Cave, Virginia. Right off of I-81, Interstate 81. About the middle of the state, I would say, somewhere around there. Man, you got the Turtle Man. You know, anybody that ever watched, like, some of the upper channels there, would anybody that watched Turtle Man had to love the Turtle Man. He's just a nut. Okay, he's like a squirrel trying to find his nut. But yeah, he likes picking up turtles. You got that right. Big old snapping turtles, alligator turtles. Yep, all kinds of turtles. So that's why he is the Turtle Man. Why he is not wearing a turtle shell for a hat, I do not know. He should get rid of that raccoon tail because he's not called the Raccoon Man. He's called the Turtle Man. So, and then he's got alligator teeth too, like Crocodile Dundee. Anyways, we got Zach Bales, we got B Mills, we got Mike coming in, we got Zach coming in, and Rick Reels and Ed Brown. Looking forward to that. You gotta give him credit. This is a 1 day only lineup, and it is a good one. Okay, and I'm sure Turtle Man wouldn't mind posing for pictures and stuff with you all as long as you're good looking. So don't break the camera. But there we go. East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization's Virginia Bigfoot Con lineup, June 17th, 2023, Wyers Cave, Virginia. Alrighty. Then we got, this is going to be a good one. These are the two events that I am going to definitely try to get to if I can get my truck running right. Let's see. This is Dave Spink's World of Weird 2023 Monster Con. Now, let me tell you, it is really, really good. It's got my brother Dave there and my sister Serenity Jenny. We got Eric coming. We got the man Stan the Man Gordon's coming to speak. Everybody, anybody that knows about Stan Gordon, you got to hear him speak. Dr. Ray Keller is going to be there. Just a whole great lineup of people. We got Bear and the Night Stalkers there. Bear and Billy and Tanya, his wife, are going to be there. Awesome people. You're going to want to meet them. Trust me. Very knowledgeable people of the paranormal. They have a podcast called Into the Fire, which I was had a pleasure of being on. So check them out. All right. So that is the announcements. And I don't see. Okay. Well, here we go. Let me take that down. Oh boy, let me push you back there a little bit. Oh, way back. About another 30 yards would be good. There we go. All right. I got my Done Peoplein' shirt on. Look at that. I'm done peoplein'. Anyways, we are going to start this show. I don't know. Hope Dennis isn't without power. Let me see here. Let me check my phone. I'm going to bring Geryl on. And okay. Morning, brother.
Good morning.
How we doing today?
Doing good.
I gotta.
Yeah,
Sorry,
good.
I don't mean to be rude, but oh, there he is. Okay, there he is. I've been up all night trying to find pictures of cryptids in cemeteries and all kinds of stuff, and not easy to do. So can't find too many pictures, that's for sure. So let's see. Come on. I just hit it. Add stream. Come on. There we go.
Good morning,
Good
gentlemen.
morning.
Good morning.
I'm up there. Yeah. We and our audience today are going on a strange journey. A really strange journey today into the cemetery. We're going to the cemetery. We're going to hear some things about cemeteries you never knew, okay?
Yep.
I've been doing some research too, and this is a fascinating research. I want to get a little bit more deeper into some of this stuff, but it goes with ties into folklore. It goes into cryptids. It goes into black magic. This is going to be an interesting show today.
Well, this is you guys, your guys' solo today. I'm gonna cut out and do some medication and all that, and I'll be back on periodically. I'm gonna go through the chat real quick. Wow,
okay, but don't go too far. I may have a drag show come in after a while. You can bring the kids and everything.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good wholesome show for everybody.
All right, your way, guys. It's all you.
All right. Anyway, I sent Nighthawk some pictures. There is a very interesting. I don't have it available. He does, I think. Yeah, there we go. There's a very interesting picture of a creature that was seen by two girls. Now these girls were on lunch break, and I think they were just kind of driving down the road through this cemetery or somewhere, and they see something like this out. It looks like a dog man to me. Okay, I don't know what you would think. It's not, and if you look at the way it's moving, and you can see the film on this as well. If you look at the way it's moving, it's not moving like a dog. Okay, like a dog would actually be digging. You know what I'm saying? And it has arms like it's prehensile arms like a human being would. This is a very good, interesting illustration of what I think Dog Man would definitely look like. Anyway, the whole thing is, these two girls were on lunch break and they catch this. You can see the whole thing. I mean, you can tell they were caught off guard by it. And they said, "What is that? What the heck is that?" You know, and they didn't. Of course, they were scared to get too close to it. Now, you know me. If you know me, Geryl, I'd have went right at it. You know, I don't want to it. I would definitely. That's why it would get me killed, I guess. But anyway. I'd have to go get a closer look, but they scared them so bad they got the heck out of Dodge. Okay, they didn't want to mess with it. You can see the girl's steering wheel. She aims her phone down. They take off. But here's the interesting thing. I've done a lot of research on this. Are you familiar? I'm sure you are with the traditional folklore of the ghoul.
Yep.
The ghoul is a creature. It's supposed to be an awful, ugly-looking thing. It doesn't look like Dogman, supposedly. But it's an ugly-looking creature that actually exhumes the bodies of dead people to feed upon them. It will also kill you if you run into it. It will eat you if you're alive. It will eat you too, supposedly. It's a very cannibalistic type of a creature. The ghoul has been known for thousands of years. Matter of fact, the word ghoul is Arabian for demon, actually, sort of a variation of demon. So the ghoul is considered to be a awful creature that does this kind of a thing. And it likes to uninter the recently buried dead. Okay. It doesn't want to, I mean, think about it. It's not got nothing much to eat on. There's just a bunch of bones. It's been there a long time. They're not going to do that. They're going after the recently interred. But there's some weird stuff going on at cemeteries. I've been reading about this. There's been reports of graves being dug up. There's been reports of animals seen digging in graves. Some of them have looked like dogs. Some have looked like other animals. There's even been one report of something that looked like a juvenile Bigfoot. Or that'd be a younger kind of a type Bigfoot digging near a graveyard. So what's going on in the cemeteries? There's some weird stuff. And here's the interesting thing. This is a little tidbit I'm gonna throw out there for you. According to law, most laws in most states, there are certain specifications for digging a grave. Okay. It's got to be so many feet deep. And now this is the interesting part. You've always heard it's 6 foot, right? 6 foot deep? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's just mainly deep enough to accommodate a vault if they have bought a vault, by the way. If they're accommodating that, the vault, your usual vault, is maybe about 4 to 5 foot high. Okay, so really, you're not digging a 6 foot grave. All right, and law stipulates, and listen to this interesting part: the dirt that covers the grave has to be at least 18 inches deep. There's got to be an 18-inch cover of dirt for one reason. Here's the important reason we're going to talk about: is that supposedly animals can't smell deep enough in the 18 inches in the ground. Got me? They say that, I don't believe that, but that's what they say. Okay. I believe it. I've seen police dogs do a whole lot better than that. Okay. I mean, if a police dog can smell heroin in somebody's butt crack across a crowded airport, they can smell on the ground. Okay. Trust me, they can do that. And cadaver dogs are very good at that. Okay. They're trained that way. So what's going on with this 18 inches? Okay, that's not really enough. Okay. So anyway, they're having a problem in cemeteries with some of these graves being dug up by animals, and we don't know, quote unquote, what kind of animals are doing this because they don't usually catch them doing it. Okay. And maybe these 2 girls caught something that's up to some of this stuff. But let's think about this a minute, okay? Even cryptids would have to have a food source. You get me? You and I, we go to the refrigerator and get a snack. Okay, that's where we go. Cryptids don't have a refrigerator, as far as I know. So where do they get their snacks at? Where do they get their food? And look at the easy food you will find in the cemetery. Okay, you don't have to chase it down and kill it. You don't have to get in a fight with it. It's just there for the digging. You know what I mean? That if I were a cryptid and wanted a fast meal, I guess that's probably where I'd go, like McDonald's. It's the McDonald's of the cryptid world here we're talking about. So to me, that makes perfect sense that some of this stuff will be going on with only 18 inches or so. And let's say, okay, let's give them 20 inches. All right. I don't think there's a gravedigger out there with a yardstick measuring it. But let's say 20 inches of dirt ain't going to do it. That's not even, barely over a foot and a half. That's just not going to do it. You and I, I know you have, and you're younger than I have. We've dug post holes, okay? We know how deep, how deep a post hole goes. I have dug them where you'd almost lose the post hole diggers, you didn't want to lose them. So, you know how far down you dig, and actually I've had friends who are grave diggers, okay? I have a good friend who's a grave digger. Well, he's retired now. He dug a lot of graves, okay? He could tell you some stories. But anyway, the whole thing in a nutshell is, I don't think 18 or 20 inches of dirt's going to do anything. And they're actually, this one report, now I don't want to get too weird here. Well, this guy, he owned a funeral home, okay? And he had at one time, I think, like one after another, 6 indigent veterans. They were, homeless veterans, and they died. They didn't have any money. So he kind of did a good favor. He was an old veteran, too, He buried them. Well, of course, when they bury you like that, there's no embalming. There's nothing like that. And they usually just I hate to say this, but they don't even put you in a box. They put you in something like a fiberglass thing, tub, in a body bag. That's the way it goes, okay? And I've worked, actually, I've helped out in morgue a good many times. I know a lot about this stuff. I've seen caskets uninterred after about like 6 years. So, well, we won't get into that today. But anyway, um, the whole thing is it's a real quick slipshod kind of a burial, okay? I mean, just to bury you so you don't smell up the neighborhood kind of a thing. So he said he was out in the cemetery, and he did a lot. He didn't actually own the cemetery, but he did a lot of business with the cemetery. You know, they have their buddies, you know, like we do. And he said he got the smell of something awful bad. And he went over and looked, and his grave had been partially dug up, and he could see part of the body bag sticking out of the ground.
Yeah.
So whatever had been trying to do to dig this up had almost exhumed his body. You could smell it, you know. And believe me, I have smelled a lot of bodies in my time. I mean, it's something you don't ever forget, that smell, okay? Once you ever smell, especially like a burned body, you'd never forget that smell, okay? But like I warned everybody, this is a strange journey here, okay? And it's a weird thing to walk out in the cemetery and see the body bag sticking out of the ground, kind of thing. Now you know that sometimes in the floods in New Orleans and places like that, these caskets will float out of the ground because most of the time that happens, there's no vault. Okay. Let's say that that when you die and your family says, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a vault." A vault is made out of cement. Actually, it's supposed to be, and it's really maybe the lid's about like that. I would say no more than maybe 4 or 5 foot of concrete. It depends on how much money you want to pay. You know what I'm saying? How much money you can put forth to it. Actually, though, I hate to tell you this, but when you go in the ground, that's why I think I'd rather be cremated and my ashes scattered over Walmart. I'm gonna get my revenge in the end. Anyway, if you're not cremated, if you're put in the ground, water insects are eventually going to get to you. No sooner or later, that's going to happen. It's just bound to happen. That's just the way of nature. You and I have done some hunting. I know you have, probably in the past. I have. We find stuff out in the woods. You know, when you die out in the woods, you don't stay there long. You know, usually, and it's very unusual to find human remains in the woods because animals will come along and scatter stuff. You know, that's just nature. Okay, we're talking about nature here. And you can take a dead body of anything, be it a squirrel, raccoon, person, or whatever, put it out in the woods, and in a hot summer day, hot summertime, that body's not going to last that long before either predators or the insect community takes care of it. That's just what they do. That's nature. Okay. The same thing with in-ground burials. That's what happens. It's going to eventually. I don't care what kind of a vault you have. It's going to eventually. But that, I hate to say this, is sort of a trick of the morticians to get you to pay more money for something that really, in the end, is not really necessary. But that's just the way. That's the gimmick of their trade. Okay, and I have actually known some morticians, and they know how to really pay the bill. You know what I mean? But that's an interesting thing. What's going on in the cemeteries, and what creatures are out there digging up these graves? And here's another aspect of all the human factor, Geryl. There's still grave robbing going on. Okay, don't think there's not. Because they see some of these people buried with jewelry, they will not think twice to dig you up and get that jewelry or whatever, And here's another thing, and I'm going to tell you this. This gets real freaky, and this is a true thing. There are actually people, like if you say, okay, like you say, there's somebody you idolize. I'm just going to use it. Let's say you love Red Skeleton, and you were a multi-billionaire, and you would say, I would like to have Red Skeleton's skull. Did you know you can hire people for a price to get that for you?
No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And don't think certain weird individuals don't do that, okay? And I've actually seen some of them have filmed themselves doing that, going in the vaults of famous people and stealing skulls or bones or whatever, or just like a hand or whatever you want, they'll get it for you. You know, you can buy anything if you got enough money. But these people are sort of human ghouls. They're not there to devour, they're there to steal whatever it is they may be doing. And so to this day, and a lot of morticians will tell you this. Just like say if you were, you know, if you died and your wife come to them and said, I want Geryl buried with his big necklace with all the gold on it and all that stuff, and the diamonds and all that, I want him buried. And they would say, we'll take those off and give them back to you before interment, because it's not a good idea for you to do that. You know, because somebody may come back and dig old Geryl up and get that. That's all of it. That's just the way it goes. And you know, here's another thing. These ghouls prey on these things this way. Here's another thing. They take and read the obituaries, okay? And when you die, they know your funeral is. That's when they'll go to your house. They don't put this in the. They used to would years ago. They put your address in there. So and so died and he lived so and so. They don't do that anymore because they're watching these obituaries and they know if your funeral is going on, they'll go to your house and break in and steal whatever they want. Smart people, but they're sort of human ghouls. Okay, they feed off of death and all that in that respect. But we've been going down some really weird places here while you've been gone.
Yeah, what's you been? I see comments about Walmart. What's the Walmart comments?
I was talking about that when I die, I'm gonna be cremated. My ashes are gonna be scattered over Walmart. I'm gonna get the final revenge. Okay.
About the only part of my body.
I've been trying to talk. I've been trying to talk Geryl out of being buried with his diamond necklace.
Yeah, about the only part of my body I'd want scattered over Walmart's property would be my ass.
Yeah, I say, well, at least people come to see you more often that way, you know. Hey, let's go see William. We're going to Walmart. We're going to go see William.
Now, Dennis, when they're digging up the graves, these creatures, is there any kind of demonic thing going on with that, or are they just there to eat, or there was something they're trying to getting something specific out of the grave?
This is nothing recent. This has been going on for a long, long time. They don't. This is the part of it they don't ever talk about, you know. But animals, like I said, whether cryptid or whatever the case may be, that's a free meal, just like, you know, your McDonald's, fast food, okay? And if they smell you, they're going to dig you up. I mean, you look at dogs, okay? They dig and bury their bones. You know, you're just another bone, okay? To them, that's the way that goes. So this has been going on a long time, but the actual sightings of like this thing, this picture of this thing out in that graveyard digging up, that's another thing, another side of the cryptid equation that nobody ever talks about. What are the cryptids doing in the cemeteries? What are they doing out there? You know, there's a lot of reports. I had actually not too many years ago had a lady come to me and said that they were out in a cemetery, church graveyard, and they were visiting their dad's grave or whatever, and they actually thought they found Bigfoot footprints out there. And I did go and check it out in this graveyard, and it was really weird because there was a big wood line there, you know, around this graveyard. It was out in a remote place, and they were very large prints. I measured them. I couldn't. They were in such a way that, especially, you can't do this in the cemetery, but I couldn't cast them, you know, the way they were. But they were like about, I think, around 17 inches. And so this was sort of like a Bigfoot type thing, you know, where it was either a very large gravedigger, whatever the case, but it looked like actual toes and everything. It looked like a Bigfoot print to a certain extent. But like I say, it was kind of hard to really make it out. So the jury's still out on whether this was a Bigfoot sighting. But I thought it was very interested in a graveyard that this took place there, you know.
Yeah.
Hello,
I
Shane.
got I gotta say hi to Ajing, guys, because Ajing is watching us all the way from India. So Ajing, I gotta say hello to you, my dear friend. It's great to see you. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, she's a very good pianist. Very talented.
Okay. And of course, we got
But,
Tombstone
no,
up all
Tombstone.
night
Yeah.
after his bid. Did you see him last night on D.A. Roberts?
No, I didn't get a chance to get that.
It was a
I
good
was
one.
busy
It was
with
a good
Geryl
one.
there. I was on Geryl's show. Yeah, we had
Yep.
a good show, didn't we, Geryl?
I'm
Thank
very
you.
proud. Well, I caught both of them. I just stayed in the shadows because I was doing some medication stuff. I didn't comment very much on either one, but I got to admit I was proud of both of you. I was really proud of Tombstone. He did a phenomenal job, you know, interacting with the audience and interacting with the all the hosts and stuff, and keeping the crayons out of Anthony's nose. That and and all that. So he did a really good job. So
The Thunder from Down Under, Tombstone.
yeah,
He's
you
always
got
he's always a day ahead of us too, by the
Yep. In the
yeah.
future.
Yeah.
way. Well, but Gerald and I had an interesting
Oh,
show last
okay.
night. We really knocked that one out. I think it was real interesting.
Yeah, we
I'm
covered all
gonna
kinds of stuff.
There's
I'm
another we
gonna
got
be
to.
on again. I'm gonna be on again tonight. Demonology today will be on tonight at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna be knocking that, and then I've got one tomorrow. I think about 9 o'clock. I think it is on called the Woodline. That I'm gonna be doing with this guy. We're gonna be doing some talking on that. So that's a good one. And she's in
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Okay. Well, I think my
Indonesia.
microphone. Yeah,
We moved
I
you to
think my
India.
microphone cut
James.
out. I mean, I said Indonesia. But I also got to say hello to Brand. Good morning, Brandy from Blondes and Booze. And when I'm on there, it's the
Yeah.
woohoo. So it'll
Yeah.
be the
Woo.
Blondes and
Yeah.
Booze and the woohoo.
Bonds, booze, and woohoo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what
So
woohoo's only when Nighthawk's on.
what do you think about the cemetery thing there, William? Is that a kind of an interesting thing? What's some of your research on that?
What I found out is that it is basically sometimes, how do I want to say this? When you're dealing with the real dark arts, okay, sometimes you need, God, I don't want to sound disgusting, okay, but sometimes you need body parts, okay, sometimes you need
Exactly.
flesh and blood. Sometimes you need
Skulls, skulls, yeah.
skulls, stuff like that. Um, and there is a thing where a lot of the really, really powerful witches, and I'm not talking the white witches or Wiccan or all that. I'm talking the real dark, dark magic. Okay.
Dark witches.
Even more powerful than Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was just the tip of the iceberg. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Aleister Crowley was still trying to figure it out, before he died. So, but a lot of these others have figured it out, and they can actually conjure up spells to control cryptid creatures to do their work for them in the cemeteries.
Oh yeah.
So, because what is a night security? What is a night security guard going to do when they see a dog man digging up a grave? Are they going to go throw handcuffs on him? I mean, seriously. So, but that's what I found is in a lot of my research was it's connected to witchcraft and the occult, and that a lot of these cryptids are meant to be under control to go there and take people's bones and stuff.
Well, one of the main ingredients of witchcraft, of course, is graveyard dirt. You know that, and that's where else do you get it but the graveyard? And it has to be off of certain graves. It can't just be going out and getting a handful. It has to be a connection. But I have also had my own
exactly.
running. I've actually had my own encounters with these things in cemeteries where they open these portals or doors, spiritual doorways, whatever name you want to give them, in their ceremonies. And some of these dark ceremonies they have that have to be done in cemeteries, by the way, according to their rules and all that. But you're gonna run into that, and it would not surprise me.
The one picture that I put up.
It would not surprise me though that while doing this, there would certain weird creatures might come through these doorways, and that would why you would have so many sightings in cemeteries. With that, that's another factor we got to look at. Like that.
Right. Now,
and
with
there's
this
a lot of stories
here,
Okay, go ahead.
This picture here is of a creature in Maple Hill Cemetery, and I believe it's in Wisconsin, Maple Hill Cemetery, if I can remember correctly, articles that I found. But they say that this is a Bigfoot. I'm not altogether positive that specifically can be classified as a Bigfoot. I think it's a Gugway. And the reason I think it's a Gugway is because I took the picture and I blew it up a lot closer, and it looks like it has a short snout on it. It doesn't have dog ears, so I just think it's a Gugway. I really, but and that would make sense too, because they're not afraid of anything really. So that being in a cemetery, and that was taken right off the access road to the cemetery. You can see up in the distance. You can see the concrete block gate. Up in the distance. Yeah, it's really something. And then, like you said,
I think it's very interesting.
Then your picture here.
That's the one that looks like a dog man to me, from what I can tell of it. It's got the ears and all. And the way it was moving, if you watch the film, this is not just a picture. They actually took film on a phone. These two girls were on a break, and they're on a lunch break or something. And it's a very interesting video. But anyway, it looks more like a dog man kind of a creature to me, or something similar to that. But it amazes me how many sightings of these things are in cemeteries. And look at the LBL, the land between the lakes. It's full of cemeteries, by the way. And there's another aspect. But like I said, we can't discount. I think I'm not going to say all of them. I'm not going to paint it with a broad brush. But I think there is a factor about the black magic, the dark witchcraft stuff, tied to this. And we do know, now listen to this, and I'll go this far into it. When you do practice this dark magic, you do call forth demonic creatures. That's just the way that goes. That's part of the action there,
Mm-hmm.
And what better thing placed in a cemetery for that,
Yep, exactly. Geryl, what's your thought on it?
Well, I saw that video and I thought it was a dog man from the way it looked, but then when you showed your up close, I can see that too. What you were saying, when we visited down in New Orleans, obviously they had a lot of cages over top of their graves. Now, whether that was because of the flooding, like Dennis was talking about, or is that to protect them from somebody digging them up?
Yeah, true.
Like I said,
you're right.
Animals, and like I was said, while you were gone, William, by law, you've got to have at least 18 inches of dirt to cover a grave. Okay. And I know that they say that the animals can't smell through that. I don't agree with that. I think they can. I've seen police dogs and cadaver dogs do that, and I think it's possible. So we gotta also put in the regular animal factor here. It could be. I've heard of wolverines actually doing this. Dogs, of course. Other type animals can be possibly doing some of this too. So that's another factor.
Do you
But there's
think
some
any of
weird stuff going on out in the cemeteries, man.
Do you think any of the graves they're digging
Definitely.
up, they might have some connection with them? Whether they were like summoning demons and then they've died and been buried. Do you think they're trying to dig up their master or their connection to this world?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I was just
I don't know.
wondering.
I think
What 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 the connection could be? What could is possibly like say a Rougarou, for example. Maybe the Rougarou is getting caught in the cemetery because it didn't get a chance to pass on the curse to another family member because the family member is deceased. So maybe they're digging the body up for some time. I mean, it could be a number of different factors. It really could.
there is a definite connection with cemeteries and this kind of stuff going on. I mean, that's without a doubt that's a connection. And there's so much action going on around these cemeteries. Makes me want to go stake one out. You know what I'm saying? And see what I can see. I've spent a lot of time in cemeteries. I've been in cemeteries all night long sometimes. Of course, I had permission to be there. It's against the law unless you have permission to be there. But like I was telling Geryl earlier, there are the human ghouls, the ones that dig up people to steal jewelry off of them. That's why the morticians will warn people not to be, don't let your family member be buried with a. They'll say that you can be displayed in the coffin with the jewelry. They'll take it off before they bury you, because some people would not think twice to dig you up to steal that. Okay, that's the way it goes. But here's what got me years ago when I found this out, and like I've helped out in the morgue a lot. And I was there the day they disinterred this casket that had been in the ground 6 years, and they weren't going to do another autopsy because he died under suspicious reasons. Anyway, the deterioration that had gone through on this casket in just 6 years was amazing to me. But the smell of death is definitely there, even if you're embalmed. But a quick burial, there's no embalming, and so there'll be more of a smell. Okay, just like I said, happened with those in veterans that they bury so quickly. That's another factor you got to think about. And and there are reports of dogs who miss their owners so much. I know there's one very famous one where this German Shepherd went to the graveyard and dug half of his master's grave up and laid in it because the closer he could get to the smell of his master. Okay, that's just a dog. That's the way dogs are. And the very famous story of the Greyfriars Bobby, the Greyfriars Bobby, they fed that dog till it died in that cemetery, would not leave his master. So, that's another factor you look at. I even heard a story, I mean, this is wild, where this man, he suffered something like a heart attack, and his dog actually followed the ambulance to the hospital. Got in the hospital, found him in his room, and they found this dog laying on the guy's bed. So that's how much an animal can be determined to do something. They'll do it,
Definitely an attachment between them.
Exactly. So that's a strong attachment, even that goes beyond death.
Yep, will do that.
But if I were going to actually have a choice, I think I would go with a vault, what's called an above ground burial in a vault. That way, than I would underground, from what I've seen. But if the best way, I think, would be cremation. Actually, you don't have to worry about anything. But here's another thing going on with that. Some of these unscrupulous morticians, and believe me, there are a bunch of them out there. Okay, well, do not really actually. They just dispose of your body. They don't actually do the cremation thing on you. They make out like they do, but they don't. They just use somebody's ashes, and they'll never know. They'll never know that's William in that jar, or whatever the case may be. Say, we'll just send them whatever we want to. They're not going to check it out. There's some very unscrupulous people out there, and I think this was in Georgia. They actually raided this mortuary and found bodies out in the backyard, stacked up in a shed, because this guy was not actually cremating these people, and he was 1010, and he was and actually had gotten rid of some of these bodies in a swamp out there. I mean, this is real. I'm not making this up. I mean, that's what kind of people you got out there in the death business, and it is a big business.
Yeah, that's like a lot of the Appalachian witchcraft around, with a lot of the older people up in the Appalachian Mountains. They actually have graveyards on their land, and there is this one old guy that was buried up there, and his dog died soon afterwards, and because of being heartbroken that his master died, and basically they buried the dog next to the master, and now they say every night you can see a dog with red eyes protecting his master's grave. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, I thought that was very interesting.
Well-known legend of the graveyard dogs. There are a good many of them reported, like the Hound of Goshen is one of them I know about offhand. It's very close to where I'm at. There is that connection with cemeteries to that stuff. That's a very interesting thing. And of course, I've told you about this before, but back in the old days when they got ready to lay out a cemetery for the first time, and usually these were churchyards, by the way, and they would actually kill and bury a dog in the northwest corner of the cemetery, so that he would be the actual protector of that cemetery. And this is called a church grim. These dogs are called church grims, and the ghosts and spirits of these dogs are supposed to be seen over the years only in this cemetery, guarding the cemetery, guarding the dead. They are guardians of the dead, very much like the hellhound in the underworld of the Greek legends. All the three-headed dog. It's kind of an interesting connection there with that. There is a weird connection between dogs and cemeteries. That's really strange. But that's called a church grim. They're supposed to protect the church and the graveyard. And that's a very well-known thing in England. A legend that goes on there. That actually there was one report where I think there was some kind of fighting or something going on in the church. There was some kind of a contention. And one night, this hound got in the church and scared everybody so bad that they said, we've disturbed the church grim. Let's settle our differences. We're going to be in big trouble here. The church grim will get us. That was a very interesting report I found. But anyway, we have always venerated the dead in so many different aspects. Look how many gods of the dead the Egyptians had over the years. You had Osiris, and you had some other ones. They always had different gods for these things, and gods in the underworld for the Greeks and the Romans and all that. And of course, the Vikings had Valhalla, which is where all the heroes go when they die. There was always one big party in Valhalla, actually. And not too far from where I live, there's the town named Walhalla, which is the only town in the whole world named Walhalla. That's Wallal. Anyway, actually, it was supposed to be named Valhalla after the thing, but somebody put a V instead of a W, and that's why it got become Walhalla. But anyway, that's a very interesting story. But we always venerate the places of the dead and stuff like that. So that's why there's such a magical, I think, mystical and even dark magic connection to these cemeteries. And it doesn't surprise me one bit that these weird animals are seen there. You know? Where else would you encounter something like that? Think about it.
You also got when you were talking about grave robbers.
Exactly.
Remember when Napoleon invaded Egypt and they took all the bodies and they were shipping them all over back to Europe and back to the U.S.
Uh-huh.
and they were having parties with all their rich friends because they had a mummy in their parlor to show everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Look, here's my mommy. Come on, let's go look at it. We'll have some drinks and go check my mommy out. But well, that used to be a big thing in England, yeah, years ago, back in the Victorian days. Mummies were real popular. And mummies were always used in witchcraft, like the hand of a mummy and all this supposedly. You hear that in Macbeth with Shakespeare, the hand of the witch's maw and guff. That was a witch's skull and her mummified head. Anyway, you had that connection. And here's another thing. I've had people come to me, and you see these old graves. I know you've seen this pictures. They've got iron cages over them. You ever seen that? They
Yeah.
got these iron cages, and people come say, "Oh, that's because they think they're a vampire, and they put that on there to keep them from coming out." No, 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 no. That's to keep out the grave robbers. That's the thing, And it's like in the old days when they buried you. What did they put on your grave? A whole big pile of what? Stones to keep people from digging you or animals from digging you up too. They put those stones on there. That was another impediment against somebody digging you back up again. They thought it was a terrible thing, and it is. So once you inter somebody to try to get them back up again, for whatever reason you may be wanting to do that for, especially if it's just an animal or whatever. But they took pains to make sure that wouldn't happen, especially with grave robbers.
Well, now in
And
the old days, Dennis, I was thinking that you're talking about vampires. They did tour them and put blades across their neck in case they tried to get up and decapitate them. They put rocks in their mouth so they couldn't bite. And there's just all kinds of stuff in the old country they did when they suspected somebody of being a vampire.
that's why you have a stake. Okay. You stake them so they don't come back. That's what the whole purpose of the stake is. You're fastening them to the ground so they can't rise again. That's what it's all about. And by the way, it couldn't just be any old piece of wood. It had to be a hawthorn stake or something like that. And in some things, it was iron. Now, there's another thing about that. The iron stake, iron is supposed to be death on witches and ghosts and stuff like that. Iron is a very protective thing. They couldn't stand that. Fairies cannot stand iron. The properties of iron fight evil and darkness. And so that's why they would use iron stakes to stake these so-called vampires down. They would also, and the other way to take care of a vampire, you don't hear too much about this, was decapitation. You take the head off. Most time of anything, I don't care if it's a dog man, Bigfoot, whatever. If you take the head off, that's probably the end of it. Okay, that's probably the end. You take the head of a zombie off, it's not gonna bother you anymore. That's it. And so they said that was the one way to take care of one of the worst monsters of all, a vampire. You removed his head, and a lot of these old graves you will find they'll take the head and put it down between his legs. That was just a symbol, and that's where you get that skull and crossbones at.
Yeah.
They would cross the leg bones and put the skull over it. That was a sign of not only death, and you see that on grave markers and stuff. It was only a sign not only of death, but also the fact that they couldn't return. That kept them from returning. So they were so very afraid and frightened by the thought of the dead returning that they would take all kinds of precautions to keep that from happening. That's why a lot of these old graves you had the stone slab over it. or like that cage we were talking about, or if you were poor and couldn't afford it, you piled a bunch of rocks on it.
Right.
That was another way to keep the dead down from coming back, keep them down. So
Now,
you've got a lot of superstition connected with cemeteries.
now going the opposite way, remember the term dead ringers?
Oh yeah,
When
yeah.
they bury you alive and they put a bell on there with the string going, cord going into
Dead
your
ringer.
coffin so you can ring it?
That's why we get that term, dead ringer. And that was a very, I tell you what, that's a very bad fear to have, to think about being buried alive. Imagine waking up in some situation like that. That would be awful. Awful way to go. And a lot of times back in the old days, these doctors were not real honest to good. They were quacks. Okay, let's put it that way. They wouldn't even take time or pain to figure out if you really were dead or not. They just wanted to sign the certificate, get their money, and leave. That was the way it went. And if you had something like catalepsy or stuff like that, and we talked about this before with the zombies, they were actually really made zombies by drugs. Certain drugs will mimic death,
Right.
and make you look like you're dead. And like I said, the actual zombies are not dead. Dead people come back, although some are supposed to be. That's another part of the zombie equation. But there's two kinds of zombies. Forget about the Hollywood one that eats people. That's the ghoul. Okay, a lot of people they miss that part. And if you go back and watch the original Night of the Living Dead, they never one time mention zombie. They call them ghouls. That's what they are. They're ghouls. But anyway, the drugs that were given to these people, they would come back later and revive them. That was the way these witch doctors worked. But now, according to some, there was supposedly some witch doctors that could actually bring you back from the dead and reanimate your body. And this is very much like the vampire we're talking about. Look at the vampire. The undead is actually a demonic creature. It's inhabited by a demon. It's a dead body inhabited. I call it the demonic reanimation of the dead. Okay. This demon creature is inhabiting a dead body. So that person is really not. Okay, Geryl, let's say if you died and you came back as a vampire, you're not Geryl. You're not really Geryl. You're a demon inhabiting Geryl's body. That's the big difference there, So you're not like the traditional Hollywood vampire. You're not Count Geryl come back to suck somebody's blood. That's a different thing. But you're talking about demonic reanimation there, and some of these witch doctors are supposed to be able to do that without drugs. Okay, so there's two kinds of zombies you got to look at. But these people were so frightened of the dead returning, and that was a real fear for them because they believed that very, very wholeheartedly. And especially if you were evil or you left something undone, then you might come back for sure.
Now there was a tomb in I believe it was China or Japan maybe, that they found inside the tomb, that around the sarcophagus there was mercury covered the whole thing.
Yeah, that was in China. Yeah, that was in China. That was in one of the tombs there that they uncovered under one of the mounds there in China. And yeah, I remember that. And there's a lot of I don't want people to think that I'm saying mercury is completely 100% safe, okay? But there was a lot of instances where mercury was used in the past by our ancient ancestors. A lot of medicinal purposes, believe it or not. A lot of healing purposes, believe it or not. So I don't know if it's just the powers that be want us not to know that mercury, if it was studied and examined and put in different tests and stuff and found to be helpful for people, would make a problem for them or not. I think you got to factor in the fear factor. Okay, again, here I go again with the fear factor. Whenever you're dealing with anything anything suspiciously demonic in nature, the fear factor is going to play the biggest role in that. Okay, because that opens up the person to being susceptible to being encouraged by the demonic activity, or even possessed for that matter. And this whole world is demonic. Okay, this whole world that we live in, this beautiful paradise at one time, before a certain somebody got office. Anyways, this beautiful paradise that we live in, you know, is under demonic control. Okay, every religious text in the world tells you that. Every religious text in the world tells you that. Every single one tells you that there is a demonic or a dark force or a dark element or a dark deity that is controlling this world that we live in. Okay. Even the Egyptians had it. Okay.
That's the real puppet master. That's the real puppet master is the demonic. They're the pulling the real strings in this world, William. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And you know, it's just surprising to me how many things we're finding currently coming up, you know, every day that our ancestors did thousands of years ago to help them live longer and to survive and be healthy, that we're being told today is harmful to us. You know,
Right.
how could they live to be sick? How could they live to be 400 or 600 years old back in the biblical times, over 2,000 years ago? And then we're dying and dropping dead at 65, 75 years old, 85 years old today. It doesn't make any sense to me. It means the powers
there
that
is speculation.
are hiding something.
There is speculation, William, that these generations that were closer to the creation of God, okay, when God first created man, they slowly, the essence of God was powerful upon them, okay? But as each generation, and the Bible says this, each generation grows weaker and wiser. From that descent of God on down, Adam was the first son of God. Think about it. Okay, Adam was the son of God. God created him. The essence of God was on Adam. But each generation, the further away you get from Adam, the less these people live. And there's a very interesting statement in the Bible that says this: what is one day to God? One day. One day to God is 1,000 years. And it says that you will not live out a day in the life of your God. No man's ever lived 1,000 years. That's very true. That was part of the curse that was put on this world because of what man did. But the main thrust of this curse that has ruined is what the world you see around us, no matter how much we love the animals and the nature and the beauty, the absolute stunning beauty of this world, is but a shadow of what it once was. Because this world has been corrupted, it's been changed by this demonic factor that's there. That's why my next book is going to be called the Demon Factor. It's a very important factor in this world that we must not ignore. We must learn to deal with it because that's what's going on here. And like you say, William, you're so very true. This world is owned by the demonic. It runs this world. They stole this world from God. One day God's going to get it back. He's going to have to take it back. But they stole this world. He's a thief. And he stole it. And he still runs it to this day. He owns it. It's just like if I were to come in your house and steal $1,000 from you. It's my $1,000. I own it now, even though I stole it from you. You know? And that's what's happened to this world. And yeah, and until people begin to realize that, that's what you're really dealing with. Behind all these governments, the cabal, whoever they may be, behind every bit of this shadow stuff stands the demonic, and you cannot ignore that. That's where they're at. They're working from the shadows against us. They hate us, and they're going to destroy us when they get the chance. We're the last thing on this world. Listen to this, what I'm about to say. We are the last thing, just like all those companies. Oh, definitely. We're the last thing on this world, except for the power of God, that's keeping the demonic from doing absolute 100% takeover. Okay, and that's it. That's the pure fact of the
Now
matter.
this just shows you part of. Yep.
And I
And
told
you
you this
think on top
before.
of that, put on top of that
Let me
also
tell you
that
this.
BlackRock.
Yeah, but let me tell you this. It does not surprise me one bit that there are not executives sitting in these companies that are demons that are running this whole thing, okay? Like I told you before, there's a lot of things walking around out there, whatever cryptid name you want to give them, that are not human, okay? There are humans that are no longer human. That's another factor you got to look at too. But there are things out there that are not human. And if you look at the reptilian and the demon, I don't see a big difference in that. Do you? Do you see a big difference in the reptilians
No,
and the
I
demons?
don't.
Come to think of it. I don't either.
No, no, not at all. What do you think, Gerald?
Oh, absolutely. I truly believe that there are reptilians, or like Dennis says, demons that are in control of everything. I mean, somehow they've got into infiltrated our government and everything else that controls us, and it's all about control.
But I can tell you
True,
this
very
without
true.
doubt. And what I'm going to tell you, people are going to say, "Oh, Dennis, you've done gone around the bend here. You done gone like a." But I have had the demonic appear to me. They look very much just like that right there, with the eyes, the nose, the mouth. This very reptilian looking thing. It had to. I call it lizard looking. Okay, and it appeared to me to look like that. I believe that was one of its true forms of what he looks like now. What they have corrupted themselves spiritually and physically to look like. I don't doubt it one bit because I've
Well,
seen
I
it.
mean, what I on with a lot of this is I talk a lot about shape shifting beings, okay, and the demonic is the biggest shape shifting being of them all.
Oh yeah,
They can trick you by taking on any form whatsoever. They can take on, they could be your old grandmother, they could be your dog, they could be your kid that purrs and cuddles your legs when you come home from work. It
oh yeah,
doesn't matter. They can take any form they want. Okay. But then again, there are some beings out there that are under demonic control and manipulation, like cryptid creatures that can shape shift too, and even aliens. Aliens
oh
have
yeah,
come to shape shift, you know.
oh yeah.
I mean, you never know. Then you put the whole predator
I'm gonna
aspect
tell you something,
involved in there
William.
where they go
I have
transhuman.
seen
So
I've seen people. I have seen people shapeshift. I'm talking about humans. We have
mhm,
that ability if we know how to do it
yeah,
right. I've seen people shapeshift. Okay, I know this.
yeah,
It's an ability that all species have. I think to a certain degree, it's part of our adaptability. It's part of our makeup.
exactly.
Although some species have a
Yep,
better handle on it than we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, not only do
yep,
they
yep.
shape shift, but they can also mimic your voice, or make you think it's your family or your friends
Yeah.
talking to you, or
Oh yeah.
even reports of
I've
some
had
people hearing their own voices talking to somebody else in the other room.
I've had many cases, William, where people have come to me that have had Ouija board activity. Okay, and I please people out there out there, get rid of your Ouija boards. You do not need that stuff in your life. Okay, but trust me, you may think it's a tool, but eventually it's going to bite you like a snake. Okay, but I've had a lot of people tell me that they've actually
Yeah,
heard their grandmother's voice while using a Ouija board. Okay, that's just the way these things work. You know, these demons do this job. This is where
yeah.
it's part of their repertoire. Okay, uh, yeah, they can make it sound and look like anything they want to.
Yep,
But
they
I know
definitely
that,
can.
and
They they
I'm
have
gonna be
that.
doing that to on the show tonight. I'm going to be talking about that on the Demonology Today. I'm going to be talking about the paranormal demonic connection. And there's one big tie. The bridge on that is definitely a Ouija board, but there's some other stuff that you can use to do that too. I'm going to be talking about that tonight. But there's a big connection to that. And I warn people, please do not go in that direction. Don't go down that avenue because you don't know what you're going to get involved in.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, not to get off subject, but you know, the whole aspect of the demonic thing is really, it's almost to the point where you think so much about it, it's overwhelming to us physically and mentally. Because it could be so many, they could, you know, infiltrate so many different aspects of our lives. But not to get off of that and onto this, but you know, we you know, and I've said this 100 times, we literally slave away every day to earn what little money that we make just to give it away. Okay. The fact that that there's no quote unquote slavery today, and I use that to criticize that statement. You know, it just blows my mind to think that we all just walking around this world with blinders on, okay, to everything that's going on around us. Now we know we can only see and hear so much on the scale, of visual and audio scale. So we don't see everything that goes on around us. And believe me, there's a lot that goes on that we are unable to see. So, and those little glimpses of things happening in your peripheral vision, everybody, that is real. Okay. That is real. Okay. That's happening right when you're seeing it in your peripheral vision. Okay. It's when we look forward that humans are limited on their visibility. If we relax our eyes and kind of look off to the sides a little bit, but not look, if you know what I mean, you'll see things. Okay. You know, there's so much that we can blame and put on the demonic aspect of it, but we also got to put some blame on the human aspect of it too, because if it wasn't for people going out in the middle of nowhere and doing these ceremonies, inviting the demonic to come in, we wouldn't have all this paranormal kick up and stuff that we have going on right now. So,
that's what I say in my book, William. That's what I want to say in my book. There's a distinct connection between the demon factor and the human factor. Sometimes they go together. They work and cooperate together. These are people with very dangerous. I mentioned this on Geryl's show last night. These are the lost souls. These are the people that make the serial killers. You look in their eyes and there's nothing there. There's nothing but evil looking back, okay? These are the people are the most dangerous people of all. These are people that have sold their souls to Satan and to the demonic. They're in cahoots with them, you know? That's it.
Now I got a short story I can tell you about seeing things that you don't normally see. If you'd like to hear it.
Well, go right ahead, brother.
There was a man taking care of his mother, and she had to go to the eye doctor because, you know, whether it was cataracts, I can't remember. She wasn't seeing very good. Anyway, they treated her and they gave her eye drops, and she put eye drops in, and the man noticed that the mother was acting kind of skittish and kind of weird, you know, out of normal. And so he asked her, you know, what's going on? And she finally said, he goes, well, who are all these people coming into the house, going through the room all the time? So evidently whatever was in those eye drops affected her eyes, and she was able to see through the veil, or if you want, into another dimension. And she was seeing all these people throughout time that's been there that we can't see. And all of a sudden they were there because of the eye drops.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. That's I've heard of that.
That's. I'm glad you
And
said that.
you
Yeah,
know
I'm
what?
glad he said that, Dennis,
But like,
because I'll let you know, Dennis, right now. That reminds me, Dennis. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to go off here in a second. But um, what you reminded me of one of the things that Mercury does, and that is if you apply it in an elixir, you can see other realms. That was one of the things that Mercury did back in the ancient time. Go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that what you've said before about the human perception only seeing so much and hearing so much and all that. There's another factor in that too. The spiritual that we cannot see. And like you're talking about with the eye drops, okay, that guy actually got a look into the spiritual realm. We know it's there. Look at what the Bible said. Remember that story about Elijah and Elias? You know, there was a big battle with the Philistines. And Elias was worried to death, oh, we're going to lose. They're 1,000 to 1 to us. We're going to lose. And Elijah said, God opened his eyes and he could see. And all of a sudden, Elijah said, where'd all these men come from? These big strong men, where did they come from? He said, now you can see what's really there, Elias. The spiritual realm, you know?
Right.
And that's what the guy with the eye drops was seeing. And I've had other people, let me tell you this, okay? When you dilate the pupils, like with the mercury you're talking about, William, when you dilate the pupils, what do? You see more. Think about it. Your eyes open up, you can perceive more of what's around you, you know? And like I said, when I had my eyes, I don't know if I ever told you about this, William, but about a couple of years ago, I actually went blind. I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything. I had cataracts so bad. I was completely blind. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. I had to get my eyes operated on. I can now see better. Of course, I use these as reading glasses. I've always used those, but I can see now. I can see a gnat's underwear from where I'm at. But anyway, I couldn't see. I was blind. I mean, I didn't see. And I had to have my eyes dilated a lot, you know, when they were testing and all that. And I noticed something very peculiar. I could see things that I couldn't see before, not just because I was blind, but I mean, I was beginning to see things I normally had never seen before. What I'm trying to say, I could see things off to the side, lights and stuff. I could see. I'm not going to say that there were entities. I don't know what they were, but it seemed like when my eyes were dilated, I could see more of what was really going on around me. That's all I can say about that. That was the strange part of it. And I believe it, just like you said, William, I believe if you, even with certain ceremonies and even certain drugs, like mercury and all these things that people used to use, they can enhance that ability to see perhaps things that you normally could not perceive.
Absolutely.
We know LSD will do it. LSD will do that. You know? Think about it. Of course, I'm not condoning. I'm not telling anybody to do that, but I'm just saying that is an after effect of what you do. You know, with that stuff. But and I have to wonder about how much of the religious ceremonies of the indigenous peoples or other people worldwide that was connected to drug use, that was not a factor of it in them being able to perceive the spiritual world around them. There had to be a factor to that.
Now, we're talking about cryptids earlier in the cemeteries and stuff. Now, you think cryptids are living on another plane and are interdimensional and they come in, or do you think they're here all the time on Earth?
There's a possibility it's both. In that respect, there could be some cryptids here that naturally occur here, and some I think are being let in from outside, and some of those may be demonically controlled. Just like William and I have talked a lot about these red-eyed creatures. When you see those red eyes, that tells you what's inside. You know.
Well, because I was just wondering, about, me and Chiro's been concentrating on raising our consciousness and getting to a higher frequency. And I was just wondering, the connection in between, the different planes of raising your consciousness, that maybe the cryptids and stuff are in that other higher plane, but then yet they're still able to come into ours.
And I think that's why, and we've talked about this before, that these cryptids are so easily to disappear or just be gone. If they're using something like portals or these doorways, whatever name you want to call them, that's the only way I can see that's what's going to happen. That's what I said on your show last night. So many roads of the paranormal lead to the portals and the demonic and all this. I mean, there's so many roads that lead there to it. There has to be an explanation for some of this stuff, and they are using these things as a mode of travel. They got to be. That's the way they're moving. Because that night when I said I saw that Bigfoot out in the woods, there was no way that thing could have got away from me down through the woods without me seeing it. There was just no way. I don't see. I mean, a deer. I could have seen a deer, a bear. Anything that went through those woods, you could have saw it. So where did it go? How did it just disappear? It had to do something like that. I don't see what other explanation you got.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
I agree. Oh, let's see what the chat has to say here.
Dilation of the eye changes the light spectrum that you normally see. That's true. And that's my cats have cat eyes, by the way, Karen. You have a slit like.
Yep.
They say that a cat's eyes, it can dilate its eyes way more than a human can, so I can see better at night.
It's almost an adrenaline factor, though. When humans dilate their eyes on their own, it's because of adrenaline, a heightened sense of adrenaline or sense of fear or whatnot that causes it, and makes the heart race, which that's again leads back to the fear factor thing.
That's another thing about the demonic too, William. Demonic possessed people, their eyes dilate. They won't be on drugs or anything. Their eyes go black. I'm not talking about the white iris part of it. I'm talking about the eye. The eye itself will go completely black. I've seen it happen. Like I said, what the eyes show is what's inside.
So many windows. Windows to the soul.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Well, let's see here. Anybody got any questions in the chat for the panel? We'll go ahead and try that and see what happens with that. Otherwise, we might as well call this a wrap.
Come on, shoot us some questions out there now. Purposely increasing heart rate be good for that.
I know everybody's got questions.
I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't want to do that.
I wouldn't.
That'd be like
I wouldn't want to do that
either. Remember that? You remember Flatliners? That movie Flatliners? What they were doing, and this is actually supposedly based on a true story. And it would surprise me if some people didn't try this, but they were actually killing each other, flatlining. So they have these spiritual experiences in that realm between life and death. And people that have gone there and come back have had experiences with that, but they were doing it on purpose. I wouldn't suggest that because you not screw up and not come back.
Well, wasn't that long ago? I don't know. Maybe it was the 70s, I guess, where they're experiencing with water baths and transcendental states when you submerge yourself and you have the music and you just go into that other realm where they without drugs, they said you could experience all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, hallucinations and all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
The mind becomes disoriented. We don't realize until, like I said, I lost my eyesight for a while. You don't realize how much the brain and the eye are connected, and that's why so many people get fooled by saying they see an image that's really not there, because it's the brain trying to make sense out of it. That's the way the brain works, the human brain works. And adrenaline can have an effect on that too, Stephen. Just me being an adrenaline junkie would do something like that, honestly. I wouldn't suggest it, but adrenaline can be almost like a drug to that extent. They used to call that, and I've heard this talked about in law enforcement and in the military, when things like that start happening, you call it getting on the jazz. You're juiced up, you're at your height of the best performance you're gonna do. You're almost like you're in a drug state to a certain extent. You get on the jazz.
Yep. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, when you start mentioning with your senses, I mean, that's what it's all about. That when you were talking about demons and stuff, they come in, with the fear, and they try to manipulate all your senses as much as they can to fool you.
Oh yeah, the more they can control, the more they control you. That makes sense when you think about it. Perfect sense. If you're going to do that, that'd be the way to do it. I've often said, Geryl, that the human condition is more like a fortress. If an army goes up against a fortress, and there have been sieges where they would siege a castle for a year or two before they could get in it. Once you break through that weak spot of the fortress, and every fort has a weak spot to it, wherever it may be, once you utilize that weak spot, and the demonic is very, very, very good at doing that. They find that weak spot and go for it. That's what they attack. And I've had people say, "Why do I get attacked so much?" I say, "Well, there's evidently a weak point in your armor, and you need to fix that." When I worked in corrections, I purposely did do a burst of purple spray on my nose to make me up and everything. Yeah, well, that would wake you up, all right, definitely. I've had my experience with pepper spray. When everybody in law enforcement, you have to get sprayed to see what it feels like, by the way. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Yeah, so once that's really why when we were talking before about hearing familiar voices or them shape shifting into something familiar. I mean that's just them trying to trick your senses, in your reality, trying to give you something familiar to gain your trust so they can take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many things in folklore and in stories that talk about people being led into the woods and never being seen again by these voices. Is that your mother was calling you and you went to find out, whatever the situation. They know how to utilize that well as an advantage. That's like the very famous, we were talking about Kolchak last night, the very famous demon in the Kolchak, the Rashaka. It could look like anybody that you trusted and fool you and get you that way. But that's the way the demonic works. I had a case one time where this lady had recently lost her child. Okay, and this is how insidious the demons are. Okay, they knew about this and they used the image of that child to try to get to this woman. Her dead child now. When it comes to the demonic, everything's off the table with them. They don't care what they do. Okay, they have no respect for anything. There's nothing that goes too far out for them. They'll do anything. They're insidious that way. That's what makes them so downright dangerous. Because there's no holds barred with the demonic. Okay, they're not gonna pull any punches on you. They're not gonna give you a break in any form or fashion. They're gonna go right for your throat every chance they get. And that's why it makes them so dangerous. But yeah, think about that. Using a woman's dead child, the image of her dead child against her. Okay. And this is true. I mean, this happens every day. It's not just the voices, it can be the images of things to get you to trust something that's not necessarily true.
Right.
That's very true, Shira. They do know your weakness, definitely.
Me and you had conversations about mythology not too long ago, just privately, and it just reminds me of what we're talking about. It's like the sirens, on the islands trying to give the hypnotic hypnotic sounds and voices out, calling the sailors in, and they end up crashing into the rocks, and then you know what happens
Yeah.
to them after that.
And the voices they were using were the voices of their loved ones. Their wife was calling. He could hear it. Ulysses had him tied to the mast, you remember? And said, whatever I say, whatever I do not turn me loose, because he'd went overside and he would have died, And he heard his wife, Penelope, calling him. It wasn't her, though. It was the sirens. But that's how shit is. These forces work. We're talking about Stevens shooting the pepper spray up his nose here. That will definitely wake you up.
Yeah, it'll definitely wake you up.
In dealing with the demonic, is willpower able to stop them from committing certain actions? That depends on what that action is. If they have you under control enough, no willpower will help you. I'm sorry to say that. No, your will not be indomitable against it if they have you under that certain amount of control. If they have a little influence over you, and there are different, I'm going to have to lay this out for everybody one day, the different stages of possession, oppression, and influence. But if they have a certain amount of influence over you, yes, your will can fight that if you're willful enough. That keeps us from murdering our neighbors sometimes. It's your willpower. But if they go too far and can control you enough, then even willpower won't be able to fight that.
Now, Scott, I'd like to answer Scott here for a second, if we could, and then you guys can answer too. But Scott, if you've ever noticed that when there's abandoned churches and stuff, you will notice that the demonic always moves into those locations. And that's so they can mock God. Okay. So they can mock the crew. Okay.
Well, they want to.
They're allowed to do that.
They want to desecrate holy places. Okay. That's one of their fun things to do. Right. They love to desecrate churches, churchyards, holy places that are, dedicated to God. Oh yeah, that's what they want to do, and that's why these people are drawn to do demonic things in churches. And that's like I told Geryl last night. Demons go to church every Sunday. Okay, there's a bunch of demons in church already. Yeah. But that's one of the things they do. They want to, and here's another thing. They love to take innocents, like we talked about the pedophiles and all that. They love to take the innocent and animals and children and corrupt them and defile them and desecrate them. This is what they do. That's just how they get their jollies.
I was kind of thinking that churches, once you make that a sacred ground, or you hold services or ceremonies there, and we do it, for God, obviously they're going to come in right after you if it's abandoned or nobody's there, and try to use they're attracted to that same place because you did make it sacred to begin with.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And a lot of times, since we were talking about cemeteries, and I made this distinction. Okay. Good morning, cryptid hunters. I made this distinction. There are cemeteries and then there are graveyards. There's a difference. Okay. There's a difference. A cemetery is more humanistic. A graveyard is actually a churchyard. It's dedicated to God. It's part of a consecrated ground. To this day, there are some people that are not allowed to be buried in churchyards because it's consecrated ground, and they were like evil people or whatever the case may be. That's a sticking point there, okay? But I've had a lot of activity. That's why these people are drawn, especially the churchyards, to desecrate them with these ceremonies and rituals. Just like the church they were talking about. That's just part of the demonic thing. That's part of the factor that they are drawn to these places. And also the demonic is drawn to places of the dead. You'll find them in places of the dead a lot of times, mortuaries, hospitals, battlefields, whatever the case. They are drawn to that like children to candy because
Oh
that's
yeah.
where a lot of trauma, pain, suffering, and I talked about that ceremony, the Tashern, where they roast these poor house cats alive, one after another, because they use that pain and trauma to bring forth the demonic forces that they want to deal with. They're seeing that the demonic is attracted to that. Wherever there's that huge output of negativity, you will find the demonic definitely there.
I was just thinking of while you're talking about that, we can go back to the indigenous people or the Native Americans, when they have their graveyards, and William can chime in on this about having their sacred ceremonies and that you're not allowed to go through or trespass through that where a ceremony's been and their
That was
dead have been laid to
a
rest.
big taboo. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
didn't desecrate the dead.
too. Yeah, another thing too with that, the whole burial areas for the indigenous people. You'll find too that a lot of animals and other people will not trespass on that sacred ground,
Mhm.
because not only do we make the ground holy through ceremony, but we also curse the ground. So where if somebody came in and ravaged the scaffolding that our people were buried upon, and stole items or whatnot, or even just walked across the area of the graves, disrespectfully, that something would happen to them. It was a protective prayer that we put over the property that the graves were put upon. It was that sacred of a site, and that's why my people want to are still continuing to fight for the Black Hills. The Black
Yeah,
Hills in South
they're
Dakota
sacred.
were our sacred grounds. They were where our history is. Our people are buried there. There's a connection there. And when this country came to be created, after a while, they put the four worst Indian hating presidents in history in our sacred grounds. You know, it's like I've always said. The same time that Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, he signed the death warrants of 330 Native Americans by hanging.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's a double standard. And it just seems
And,
to me
and
that
you know, and Lincoln is not the hero that some people think he is either. Definitely not.
exactly, exactly, exactly. And
But
that's why I
William,
tell everybody to question everything.
but that's what you're talking about with this sacred land. There's that strong connection there. That's what makes it sacred. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
stronger connection there than anywhere else, and that should be venerated, of course. But there are that is the way. Since you were talking about putting a curse on anybody, I was just thinking about what's on Shakespeare's tombstone. Blessed be he who doesn't touch my bones, but cursed be he who doesn't messes with them. It was a bad thing to desecrate dead, and it still is. It's a bad taboo. Look at the look at the way that people they get drunk. Sometimes they go in cemeteries and tear up the tombstones and all that. It's very much frowned upon, and it should be because desecration of the dead is still one of the last taboos that society has. You know, and when that's gone, we'll be what? No less than animals. Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
Exactly.
William, in your
Something.
ceremonies, you talked about uh, doing a part to put a curse on people who tread or desecrate your sacred grounds. But was there also a separate one for to keep demonic activity out of that grounds?
Oh yeah,
Well,
definitely.
you got to understand too, though, that when we bless the ground, that's going to keep any evil entities from being upon there. So that in itself would take care of that. The ceremony, the first ceremony. We don't have to do a cleansing ceremony or anything like that. It's a totally separate holy ground ceremony. You know, as Dennis was talking, I was reminded of something my father used to tell me years ago, and God rest his soul. My father was a warrior. He was definitely a warrior. He was something I could never live up to his expectations as a warrior. He was, I mean, the man came out of World War II with 5 Purple Hearts. He came out of World War II with parts of his body missing, muscle mass missing, bullet holes all through him, and shrapnel enlarged 1/4 of an inch from his heart that he never removed because they didn't have the technology back then, apparently, to remove it. But he always told me, he said, every step you take in this world, you have to look at it as a step to the next. Okay. In other words, you walk with reverence for everything. Okay. And if you're confronted with the evil, then you know, because of the previous steps that you've made, that you're at a point in your life where you can fight the evil. So, it makes sense now that I think about it. It makes sense to me, that every step we take in this life, in this world, if we do it honorably and we do it respectfully and we build up our spiritual strength, we are ready for that negative battle. That's just the way it is. That's the way we're designed to be. So, I don't know. I thought Dennis
part of the human
about that,
That's part of the human makeup, is that
right.
we push on through it. We have to. I mean, if like your father said, you take a step, you take that next step. Don't go back. If you go back, you're defeated. But as long as you keep going to that next step, you're gonna win. You're gonna end up where you need to go. And we were talking earlier about this desecration of the dead. Even the ancient Egyptians put curses on their mummies if you mess with them. It was a good thing. And like I say, if we want to keep our humanity, like you were saying, William, we must not forget where we've been and what's behind us. Although we're going forward in our steps, we must not forget what's behind us. That's part of us.
Exactly. Exactly. I think we should go with some closing comments from you guys. So, if anybody, this would be a good time for like Geryl or you, Dennis, whoever wants to start, to give what you're going to be doing, what's going on with you, what your sites are, what books you have, groups or whatever. We're going to end with that, and then I'll do an ending here after you guys speak. So whoever wants to go first,
Go ahead, Geryl.
All right. Yeah, we recently started Midwest Night Watchers group on Facebook, and to try to get more activity on other people's groups and to share other people's content or their YouTubes, and obviously we have the YouTube channel Midwest Night Watchers, and me and Geryl recently have started two kind of separate series, but they kind of overlap each other, so we're going to continue with that, and then keep working with you guys and see where this all goes.
Sounds good. Like I say, tonight I'll be on YouTube. Just look it up as the Demonology Today. I'm going to be exploring the paranormal demonic connection. It'll be tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to soon produce a series of video shorts. It's called The Midnight Road Excursions into the Unknown. I'm writing the scripts for some of them now. They're going to be short videos. I'm almost got my book, The Demon Factor, finished. Hopefully that won't be too much longer. Been working on it a long time. And my books can be found on my website. All you got to do is go to my website. This is denniswcarroll.com. All the links to the books are there. And also a contact form if you need to contact me with anything, reports, concerns, or problems or whatever. Also, my email is ghostwolfdc@gmail.com.
Okay, I'm going to put on the bottom of the screen how to get a hold of Gerald's group, the Midwest Night Watchers. Excuse me. That's the medication coming back up. Anyways, the Midwest Night Watchers, excuse me. It's on the bottom of the screen on the ticker. And that's how you can get a hold of his group on and the YouTube and all that. You know, these two gentlemen, yeah, I think the world of them. They are my brothers, and I'm hoping that they will take me upon my offer to join the channel and they have their own podcast on here if they want. So hopefully we'll have some new shows coming up here in the future. I'm actually going to be doing the Becoming Monsters Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern. Okay. That's this coming Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock PM, not AM. And then after that, we've got I'll be doing the regular Friday night 10 p.m. Into the Red Rabbit Hole. Okay, just so everybody knows, we will have a 10 o'clock p.m. Friday night show, and then of course we're going to have the Saturday and Sunday Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew show again with Dennis and Geryl on, and then. Also, you can get a hold of me at lakotaman333@gmail.com, or you can message me on Messenger, or put a friend request in and we can talk that way on Facebook. If you can, like, heart, and share this as much as you can, if you would, please. Also, we have a third mug design. I don't know if you all saw. Yeah, I kind of that out there real fast. But the design that was created specifically for me by a great brother from the West Coast, a native brother, and I'm not going to embarrass him by telling his name unless he wants me to. But it's an awesome design. It's called the Weirdo Warrior War Cry. And it has the depiction of the Native American on it with the full bonnet headdress and the dog man werewolf howling at the moon. It's really a cool looking mug, and for $20, what it's a good, I think it's a good purchase. So that's another good one. Actually on bonfire.com, where it says down below, you can bonfire.com /store/into the red rabbit hole. You can get t-shirts designed by me. There's like 17 different styles on there. So, and there's more coming. So, also Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I've been asked to come on a podcast. I'm not sure what channel they're on. I'm sure they're probably going to be on YouTube, or maybe iHeartRadio or something like that. But I've been asked to come on by somebody that has a podcast that wanted me as a guest. So I'll be doing that Tuesday at 4 p.m. So it's going to be a busy week. We've got a lot going on. Medically wise, I don't even know where to begin medically wise. So I'm just going to kind of leave that out there. But I'm going to be getting things mailed out come Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so everybody that has been promised stickers, I'll be getting those in envelopes and mailed out to everybody. And I've still got to mail the medicine bag that was won by a person on Into the Fire podcast. Nice little medicine bag I made.
Very nice.
So, and I do all kinds of requests with those too. If anybody wants certain designs, they can let me know through Messenger. Other than that, like these guys have said, we and they repeat it just as much as I do. We are family. We are extended family. We are there. If you have any weird things going on, you want to report, or you want somebody just to talk to find out our angle on it, please give us a holler. Dennis is here. I'm here. Geryl's here. So, and there's other great people out there too. You got Bigfoot Michigan Rob. You got Brandy and Krista on Blondes and Booze. You've got Jessica on Cryptid Huntress. You've got Carlito out there. You've got Thomas Cardo out there. You've got D.A. Roberts out there. You got so many people that you can actually just ask them a simple question, if they have time, they can answer, So, it's a growing family is what it is. Okay. And the sooner we start realizing what's going on and start questioning what's going on around us, the better off we're going to be as humanity. And as mankind progresses, they're going to need more people like us. Okay. Long after I'm dead and gone, there's going to be others carrying on this torch, hopefully. So, yeah, the mugs are great, Stephen. You're right.
We actually ordered the new one last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that new one is designed. That's for sure. You guys will be fighting over it.
Yeah, we'll probably have to get two.
Anyways, I want to wish everybody a happy day. Okay, everyone's gone to church. Go to church. If you don't believe in going to church, then go outside and stand in the Creator's cathedral, and just bask in what the Creator's made, So, with that being said, I'm you all a good day, and we will see you all, probably Tuesday at 4 p.m. Wednesday, definitely Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern, okay, for Becoming Monsters. So we will see you all then. Everybody have a great day.
Bye.